Welcome back. Let's get the details now for the markets. We have Willie Bank joining us right here with all the details.
Hi, Laddie.
Great to have you, Will. And I have my eyes on the cement giants. At this point, there's a lot happening with cement. At this time, and we did see the billionaires at play at this point.
Of course,
Otedola acquiring 6 billion naira worth of Dangote Cement. Shares at this point. So I'm wondering, is it because they're BFFs, or what is Mr. Otedola seeing?
Or maybe because they're best friends. But does Mr. Otedola even know that Otedola is even buying these shares? Because we don't even know. We saw what happened with Transcorp, and we saw what happened with First Bank. He's a prolific share buyer. Let me just put it that way. He has this penchant for going into stocks, and then when he buys them, you see that stock rally. So I don't even know where Dangote Cement will be going now. The share price at this rate, because right now the stock market is really on fire. We're seeing it at 94,000 points at intraday, and I don't know where it's going to head to if this continues.
And we're seeing billionaires like Mr. Otedola bringing in 6 billion
into the market
at this point. Do we see more billionaires? How many billionaires do we have? Right
now, we're going to be counting. We're going to be counting because, Laddie, it beats me to see that Otedola is playing into the cement industry right now. From Geregu, the power industry, moved from the financials to the power industry, and now he's into the cement industry. Now we don't even know why he's taking a stake in Dangote Cement. Probably
just like that, 6
just
billion
like that, just 6 billion.
God, when can I do that?
Laddie,
hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. This year, let's let that go. So we see the markets, it's really hot, and we're going to start with equities in Africa, where sentiments were positive at intraday. We see Nigeria's NGX crossed 94,000 points at intraday, up 2.65% as of the time I checked. But like one analyst described it, they said the market is like hot tea right now, not cool as yogurt. Now we look at South Africa. GSE is up at intraday 0.54%, very good at intraday. Elsewhere, Egypt, the EGX is closed Thursday, but it closed up in positive territory. Also, Kenya closed Thursday's session in the green. Now, let's check out activities at the NGX, what's driving sentiment at intraday, and we're going to be talking to Mukhtar Mohammed. He's the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. Good afternoon, Mukhtar. Now, sources say, let me just start with that, billionaire investor Otedola, as I was talking with Laddie, is reportedly acquiring shares in Dangote Cement. Now, this is looking like deja vu. Should we expect in Dangote Cement what we saw with Transcorp?
Well, if that's your expectation, I think if your expectation is being met, because today Dangote's cement is on fire. He has gotten about 48 naira, and so 50 kobo increment in his price. So definitely that answers your question. That means wherever Otedola touches, it begins to go up. But again, like you said, you and Laddie said in the studio, hopefully it won't end what happened before now with Tony and Nimelu Transcorp, and there was a certain time he also had this issue with Aligo Dangote also in the oil and gas sector. So hopefully Dangote is aware that Otedola is buying into Dangote. So they are best friends, so something is cooking in that space. Like you said, the billionaires are fighting, and when the billionaire fights, those that are little shareholders tend to enjoy more. So it's not left for the shareholder to say, oh, do I want to offload to the billionaire and make my money and stay, or do I want to be in the class of the billionaire and stay with them there? So that's a decision that every shareholder would have to make on his own.
Okay, well, you said that the stock price, as we're still on Dangote Cement, it opened at 350 naira this week, but as last I checked, it was 489 naira. I don't know if it says that it's open today at 489 naira. I don't know how much it has had. You've mentioned that.
At 500
naira. Now, do you see it going higher than 500 naira?
500.
Do you see it going higher than 500 naira this week at the end of this month? Do you see it hitting 1,000 naira?
Wow, 1,000 naira. I think that will be an uphill tax, but in the near future, I think it will go up. It's already about 540 something naira at the close of market today. So hopefully, I think so. It will go up.
So what do you expect for? Because you're seeing a lot of stocks climbing to the 1 trillion naira. Market capitalization. We've seen Geregu join that league. Transcorp Hotels recently joined. Can we say that sentiments are driving the market's capitalizations to the Suits League, because we don't know if it's going ahead of fundamentals?
Well, when you talk about fundamentals, when you look at those companies that have hit the trillion and naira mark, you talk about Dangote Cement, definitely is a good story. It's a cross-border share. Then you talk about Transcorp Hotels. I have my own reservation in hitting that mark. So outside of that, you look at Boa Cement. You talk about the conglomerate sector. I think I'm not surprised that they are there. Then you look at the banking sector; they have strong fundamentals, with the exception for Transcorp, which I have my reservation about because hitting 100 naira, what the fundamentals and when you know what has happened in that stock between we always come back to Otedola and Tony. Then you begin to say that is strategy to make sure that nobody buy into that company any longer. So we have to wait and see. But I think some of the stocks that are in the trillion, they have the strong fundamentals. Their results are good. Their PE ratios are still good. Their earning per share is still very strong. So they still have the tendency to be able to meet up with that.
And so let's delve more into Transcorp and the concerns you have about them hitting the 1 trillion naira market capitalization. What are your real concerns here, and what do you think investors should be looking out for?
No, now you talk about which of the Transcorp. Now there are two Transcorp there. You have Transcorp Hotel, that's the one that have hit 100. I think that's the one you're talking about, or Transcorp as the Transcorp company there. Which of them are we talking about now? If you're talking about the hotel, that's where I have a concern about. But you're talking about Transcorp itself, I think it's a stock that is going up. Is not too surprising, even if today is dropping. Remember that they are into a lot. They are into power holding. They are into oil and gas. And again, we might not see it coming, but it might come. Remember, the Kaduna discos are having problem. And when there is a problem in a discos, the next person that really goes there is Transcorp. Antonio Lumino is always interested in power. He sees that as one of the cash cow that should be driving the Nigerian economy in the near future. So won't be surprised if tomorrow you hear that Transcorp is buying into Kaduna disco. So definitely with that, I think Transcorp itself is a good company. And remember that a lot of investors have suffered long in Transcorp. Remember the history of Transcorp. I came to the market. Our President Obasanjo really was the brain behind Transcorp to get a fully Nigerian company into every sector of the Nigerian economy. And that stock have not lived up to expectation, but for the first time now it's beginning to live up to expectation. And I think investors in that are enjoying it. For Transcorp Hotel, they say they have a conglomerate of hotels. Some of their hotels have not been completed up to this moment. So that's why I have my concern on Transcorp Hotel. But for Transcorp, it's a company I think is doing well.
And yeah, talking of Transcorp, we did know that when it was trading below, say, 2 naira, as at the start of last year, 2023. But when Otedola got into the market, when he got into that, started buying the stocks, we saw it rally now. It's currently trading at 19 naira. What do you see for this stock price? Do you see it going higher? What's your projection for Transcorp? Do you think it's got the fundamentals? I know it's going into the power sector. It has a lot of stake. Investors are definitely going to invest. But what do you see for Transcorp in terms of its outlook? Can it stand the test of time?
Well, I'll answer that question like this. If you look at Transcorp and Geregu, they are in the same sector. Geregu is trading at almost over 300. Why should Transcorp be trading less than what it is trading now? So I think that answers your question. Still a lot of value in Transcorp.
Okay, fantastic. So now let's look at stocks that are driving the all-share index up at intraday. So what are the movers at intraday? What is really moving the market, driving it up to 94,000 points? And I think it's probably going to hit 95 to maybe next week. But what's driving the stocks right now?
Yeah, Will, I think Dangote is driving the market. Boa Cement also is there. Julius Berger is there. I think those are the main stocks that are driving the market. At the moment, Dangote Sugar also is there driving the market too. So at the moment, as it stands now, I think it's all about Dangote. Then Eternal Oil, after that announcement yesterday that they have become the official lifting of petroleum product from Dangote refinery. And also they've entered into agreement with some other trucking company also on the upside today. For the banking sector, the big bank, the tier 1 bank, it seems that the bull is beginning to leave them gradually, with only UB in the gainer side. For assets, it's in the loser side at the moment intraday. But like I always say, you never can say. Zenith also is there losing. Then GTCO also on the losing side. Access also on the losing side. First Bank also on the losing side. Fidelity Bank on the losing side, and also FCMB on the losing side. And so for that bank, I mean, for the banking sector, that's what it looks like. I think what is driving that L-share index today is the conglomerate sector. And when you talk about the conglomerate sector, you could only just say the cement sector, and then the construction sector, Julius Berger. Those are what are driving the market intraday.
Okay, we're looking at the banking sector. Do you think that we're going to see a major pullback? Because most analysts are saying we should trade with caution now, that the market is just too hot for investors to just dive in. What's your advice to investors right now that the market seems to be going, like a train without, brakes, let me put it that way. So would you say that the market is heading in the direction that the correction will be a great fall?
When we talk about correction, then you look at fundamentals. And again, when you look at this market as it stands now, even with the movement of these shares, you look at their earning per share for third quarter result, most of the bank were doing double figures, about 12, 15. And then we don't expect that to trend to stop going forward. We have pillars, even some banks like FCMB have already said in the full year, they may be making up to 79 billion profit after tax. So definitely the fundamentals for the banks are still strong. When you look at, like I said, the PE ratio, the earning per share, the third quarter results, I don't think there's any cause to be worried about that. People always think of it's perception. It depends on when you were in the market, where you are, when you bought those shares. And like I said, the fundamentals are still there. Remember that the CBN we're still waiting for CBN to give us a direction of that bank must capitalize to 1 trillion. The first tier banks have already done that already with their market capitalization. So you see a lot of activity in the second tier bank. And you could also see most merger and acquisition also, even from the tier 1 bank or buying the tier 2 bank. So definitely, as far as the bank is concerned, I think the fundamentals are still strong. Like I jokingly tell people when we talk about the market as it stands now, there's the highest share in the market as today is South Africa. And when you pause that and buy the dollar and you decide to do an exchange rate of just 1,000, averaging both the official and the parallel market, it's still $2. So, and you are talking about a market that is the best performing market in the world, and the highest price in terms of a stock there is $2. So definitely that shows you that there is still a lot of value there when you look at that. And also, you mustn't forget that what is driving these sentiments now is because of the fundamentals of these banks that are strong. Mustn't forget that most of these banks are also scattered all over Africa. Just yesterday, Access was acquiring a bank in Uganda. So there's a lot of things going on in the banking sector. They are acquiring holding. You also not forget that they are a holding company now. So they are also into other businesses. So definitely with that, the Muslim valuation of those banks should not be like where they stand alone. They should be valued according to their holding structure, because they are going to go into a lot of other sector of the Nigerian economy, and they have the liquidity to drive this sector. So I don't think there's any need to panic. And we, like I always say, this market move out today is being moved by Nigerian investors, not like what we have the foreign investors. And you know that we're still waiting for both the foreign portfolio investors to come into the market. And remember, we've been delisted from the frontier market, the frontier market also. And if we get the two-way exchange system with the government say they are working on to make sure that they clear all the backlog of companies' funds that are in Nigeria, that could also drive investors into the market. And when investors are coming, the first place to benefit is always the equity market. So there's a lot of permutation. I don't think people are afraid of what happened in 2008, but I think the scenario now is very different, because we can see that the banks are very liquid.
Oh, you mentioned that the fundamentals of these big guys in the market are really strong. But let's look at the penny stocks that are in the market as well, which investors are also, putting their hands on right now. What would you say is the sentiment driving the movement in those penny stocks?
I listened to you and Ladis, was it 2 days ago or something, last week, and you said, beware of the bull trap. And so when you see the bull comes, the penny market, the penny stock seems to be the one. So that's the trap that you are trying to tell investors to beware of. So when the bull runs, then the penny stock sometimes just seems to move without fundamental. So that's a bull trap. So it depends on which of the penny stock you are talking about now. But if you talk about the penny stock and you're talking about the insurance sector, outside of name insurance, Cedar Insurance, Manson Insurance, every other of those insurance companies are stocks that have been struggling all this while. They've been there in the about 20 cover, 30 cover. And so investors need to be careful in that stock. So that is the bull trap you talk about. You need to look, when you talk about the bull trap, sometimes it's telling people beware of the penny stock, because the market has what we call a snowball effect. When something happens somewhere, it got to happen the other way.
So what's your outlook?
There's a saying that when ship come to shore, the fundamentals comes to play. And when the fundamental comes to play, the first people to suffer are those that do not have a strong fundamental. And that is where the penny stock comes to play. Depending, like I said, depending on which penny stock you're talking about.
So what's the outlook for the markets, let's say for the close of the month, and then probably the rest of the year? Where do you see the markets going?
I had a joke with somebody. I said, if Access Bank closed today this year at 30 naira, has it done so much? Has it not done well? So when you look at that output, I think what we really say the year will not close well if people begin to see this banking stock comes to where they were before. But I'm still very optimistic to say that I see positivity towards. Not forget that we are coming to that point of the earnings season, and when investors will also be rewarded. And so that could also be a game changer. We could also see the exchange rate stabilize. We attract investors into our market. We could also see macroeconomic stability coming. And when you talk about macroeconomic stability, then you begin to look at the sector like the petroleum sector. Dangote's refineries on stream. The pressure on the currency might not be there any longer. So there's a lot of optimism that drive the market this year, both in macroeconomic area. So for me, I think the market will close positive this year. I think the market will definitely close positive this month. It's already closing positive will, because at 2.something%, and we are just at the beginning of the year. So there's a lot of optimism. But again, not to forget that the market is driven by two things, and that's those two things we have to guide against: fear and greed. So depending on which side of the spectrum you are. If you are for the fear side, then you begin to panic and the market will panic. But if you are in the greed side, if you are greedy, then you want to say, let me take profit, and also the market could come for you. So it depends on which side you are. Fear and greed will be the determining factor of the market this year.
Okay, so you've not talked about the oil and gas space now. You know, those companies that have been approved to sell Dangote fuel. We see Otedola has just joined that list. We have Total, MRS, and we've seen that MRS is gaining traction right now. So what do you advise investors? Should we get into the market now and buy the stocks, or should we just wait and see till they start lifting the fuel?
I would say buy internal oil, because when you look at the price difference between internal oil, corn oil, Total, that shows you there's a lot of value. Sometimes when it comes to stocks, you see internal oil move, not because it has that very strong fundamentals. Even the fundamental of internal oil is strong, but you see internal oil move because a lot of investors that want to play the oil and gas sector will not have the fund to go into buying corn oil or buying MRS or buying Total because of the price, and they will just stick to eternal oil. And again, eternal oil seems to be in that league because what they are doing, eternal oil also is also doing, so it will definitely turn on. Ask me, I think that's a stock that investors should look at, eternal oil. I would have said Owando too, but you know what is happening in Owando. We don't know when they will delist. We don't know whether they will still delist. So investors should be careful on that space. But for eternal oil, if you ask me in the petroleum sector, which stock should I be buying now? I'll say buy eternal oil, buy eternal oil.
Thank you so much, Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar, for your perspective. It's always good to have it. So here it's investors, you know where to go when you want to dig into the oil and gas sector. So let's move on quickly to the Middle East and see how markets closed today. Major equities were closed today, except for the UAE, where the Abu Dhabi index was down at intraday 0.36%. We see Dubai trading in positive territory, 0.38%. Now, still within the region, we see Saudi and the Qatari indexes trading, well, they closed yesterday, but they traded in negative territory. Now, going to the US, overnight, we saw that all three major indexes rebounded, and they were powered by tech companies. Now, futures linked to the broad market, that's the S&P market, gained a 0.88%. We see the Dow Jones Industrial Average more than 0.5% up, and the Nasdaq futures rose 1.35%. Now, on a weekly basis, the Nasdaq is standing out with a 0.55% advance, while the Dow is down 0.32%. The S&P 500 is marginally lower by 0.06%. Now, Thursday's gain were powered by, as I mentioned earlier, major advances in the technology sector after the Bank of America upgraded shares of Apple to a buy rating. Now, Apple stock closed 3.3% higher. That's marking its best day since May the 5th, 2023. Now, tech shares rallied even as the 10-year Treasury yield topped 4.1% on Thursday. Now, Congress also passed a bill to avert a partial government shutdown. This stopgap measure is keeping the federal government funded through March the 1st and March the 8th. Now, let's check in on Asia. Japan's Nikkei 225 rebounded after 2 straight days of losses, climbing 1.4% to close. Now, South Korea's Kospi also gained 1.34% to finish at 2,472 points, while the small cap Kosdaq saw a smaller gain of 0.28%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped 0.72%, now reversing earlier gains, while the mainland Chinese Shanghai, we see that falling 0.47% after rallying late on Thursday. Australia, however, saw a rise of 1.02% to close at 7,421 points after 3 straight days of losses. Investors also assessed Japan's December inflation numbers, the last key data before the Bank of Japan's first monetary policy meeting of 2024. Now, Japan, which is the 3rd largest economy, saw headline inflation rate hit its lowest level since June 2022, cooling to 2.6% from 2.8% in November. And the Bank of Japan is kicking off its 2-day monetary policy meeting on January the 22nd, and will announce its decision the next day, Laddie.
Right. I guess final trading day of this week, and we see the NGX already looking really good.
Really good.
Hopefully we get some kind of fear-greed index, for that market to see how greedy
investors
the NGX,
can get.
the investors there are. Thank you so much
Thank
for the details.